And that is a really cool built-in feature in the Panel Navigator. So I'm going to go back into my UX. I'm going to create a new UX component here. And I'm going to go to my controls here. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some panel cards. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick panels here. So I'm going to add quick panels, but I want to do it so it adds a bunch at the same time. So I'm going to do here a panel navigator with 3 panel cards and click OK. And there's a little nomenclature here. So if you wanted to write your own, you could save your own and you click there. But this just saves you time to set up a panel navigator with some panel cards. And if I do the working preview, you'll see that I have, here's static text number 1, and I'm using the swipe gesture to go to the second one, the third one, and back. So this is called a carousel because essentially you just swipe gesture to go from card to card. But I'm going to modify that. I'm going to go ahead and go to the panel navigator. I'm going to put in a panel header. Then what I want to do is I'm going to go to this navigator and I'm going to change it from carousel to something called tab buttons. And the cool thing about tab buttons is, and if you haven't seen this before, it's really nice if you want to have a neat quick navigation system. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to define button. I'll go card 1. And then I'll go ahead, add another button, card 2, and a third button here, card 3. And I want them all be in the same line, okay? So now, and actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make these 33% right here, so they're all the same width. So right now what you do is now you'll notice we have a header with these 3 buttons here. Clicking on them doesn't do anything yet, but we'll solve that in a second. But I still have my, my cards here, and it's on card number 1, but notice now, since I've said I'm gonna use a button method, or I can't swipe gesture, so I'm clicking and holding and it's doing nothing to show that. So programmatically, I'm gonna monitor this. So what I'm gonna do is go to this panel navigator. Now, when you have tab buttons, you'll notice that there's a new field here called tab buttons. And if I click on there, it basically allows me to map user interface elements, buttons, to the panel card that should be shown. So I'm gonna add a button controller and I'll select button 1, that's the first button, and I want it to show panel card number 1. Then I'm going to add panel button 2, panel card 2, and button 3, panel card 3. So I'm basically mapping these buttons to my panel cards. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So let's go ahead and save this. I'll go, what did I call it? I call it Panel Navigator 2. OK, so I'll do that. And now I'll go in here and I'll go to working preview and watch what happens now. So I've got panel card number 1. If I click on 2, notice that it's switched to panel card number 2 here. 3, 1, 3, 2. So this is cool because you don't have to write any action JavaScript. You don't have to do any panel navigates or panel set active. You just map your buttons here. And these buttons could be anywhere. They could be on the left-hand side. They could be permanently affixed. They could be image buttons. There's a lot of really cool things you can do. It's a very nice kind of way to handle that. It's sort of like a tab metaphor from that standpoint here. Now, the real reason I'm showing you this is the following. When you have a panel navigator, there's a cool function built into it, and it's called the Has Indicator Navigator Position Indicator. And if I enable that, watch what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and do working preview. And you'll see right here that now I have this little indicator down here below showing which panel card I'm on. So if I go to 2, notice that the indicator here changes. 3, indicator changes here. And what's cool about this indicator is that it's all handled for you automatically. So let's say you had like a situation, and I'm using these cards here, but if I were swiping between those, then it would work just the same way, meaning that the swipe gesture would move from here. So the idea behind it is that this is where I see it often, is that I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a mobile interface, show it to you in a mobile metaphor here. Often you'll have, say, for instance, a series of images or data that you want to show the person, and they're on multiple items. So you want a swipe gesture to basically go from panel to panel to panel, and you want to kind of tell them, well, you maybe have 5 or 6 panel cards that are available, etc. And so you'll notice that you have a nice little indicator here that will show that. So, I could absolutely do this as a step indicator and manage all that. When I click one of these buttons, I could fire off the indicator update, but this is kind of a free, easy to put in there. If you've built your panel navigator, it will handle it for you. And there's a couple of things you can do. For instance, if I go here, I can say, you know what, I want it to be at top. And so now you'll notice that instead of the indicator down below, it's up here at the top, and it just kind of overlays over the panel cards there. So you have some flexibility in terms of where you do that there. So often when you have a wizard metaphor, you may not need to really even create a step indicator. You just add this to show them kind of periodically where things are going or where they're at in terms of the number of there. And also more importantly is if you had 5 or 6 panel cards with sort of detailed data, let's say you had a company record and you dived into that company record, you would then you would dive into that panel, that company record, and maybe there's 6 dialogues worth of information or 6 panel cards. They would kind of get a sense, oh, I'm on this panel card. It gives them a contextual structure in terms of work with their interfaces there. So I love step indicators. Obviously, you'll see that they are far more visual, more interesting. Like this was my prototype, so I can go in here and say 3 and set it to set it here. So, but you can change the colors, styling, size of the fonts, etc. You also notice, and this is using a different CSS template or style. So you'll notice the style, it picks up the style. In this case, it's alpha green versus the one I had, which was here, which has a little different style, so it picks up the fonts and other things like that are, so it's nice, it looks nice and integrated with your other elements within your application there.